Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. And that's a quote by Marianne Williamson. So what's holding you back? Join me for today's episode, and I'll show you how to punch fear in the face so you can get on with becoming the leader you truly want to be.
The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to Rat Race Reboot. I'm your host, Laura Noel. And as a certified coach and former 27-year military leader, each week I provide bite-sized mindset pivots that will help you reset your mind, reawaken your spirit, and regain your control.
Hi, everyone. I want to read that quote because I just read a little snippet of it, and I think it's so beautiful and very, very powerful. So just listen to these words and see if you can see yourself in this. So our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine, as children do. We were born to manifest and make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not in just some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. And that's a beautiful quote from Marianne Williamson. And that is so true. How many times do you hold yourself back? I know that I've done it, and sometimes I'll catch myself in the habit or the old habit of doing it when I'm around somebody who maybe isn't letting their light shine, and I try to dim mine so that I'm not judged or so that I'm more agreeable, more likable, whatever the case may be. It's BS, because if I really stand in my power and see other people in theirs, we all have equal opportunity to shine. So we should never hold ourselves back, because in doing so, again, there's nothing enlightened with holding ourselves back, and we're not going to be able to make the impact or create the impact that we want in the world. So I think that's really beautiful. This episode is all about fear and how do we overcome fear and what actually is happening in our mind that's holding us back. Because when you become aware of what's happening in your mind, you don't have to be enslaved by it. You can change it. And I want to share a little story with you about we call this the terror barrier. When we have that moment of fear, when we're faced and we're on the edge of doing something and really letting our light shine, and maybe we feel like we want to run back to safety, or we second guess ourselves, or what will other people think? And then we step back into our home state, right? Our home base. And that's not really going to get you anywhere. So once you understand what's happening in your mind, you can change it. So when I first started as a coach and I started doing speaking engagements, I was hired by an OSHA organization for a bunch of safety professionals to speak at a conference. And so they were paying me to do a 3-hour workshop for them. And I've never done anything like that before. This was all new to me. And I knew that I had to overcome my fear and just say yes, and that I would figure it out. I had enough confidence in myself and in my ability and in my background to know that, hey, whenever I'm faced with a challenge, I figure it out and I overcome it. You know, I used another one of our mental faculties, my reasoning ability, in the right way to do that. So fast forward, I'm getting ready to do the event. I'm driving to the event. It was about a 45-minute drive from where I lived. And as I was driving, I started playing the script in my head of something that happened the day before. I was with a few people. I was volunteering at a personal development seminar, and somebody said something to me, and I took it as a personal attack. And I don't know if they meant it that way or not, but I clung on to it. And as I was driving, I couldn't shake this disagreement, right? And it wasn't even a disagreement. It was just somebody said something to me, and I probably took it the wrong way. So I'm driving, and I can't shake it. So I call a friend and somebody I really respect and admire, and I wanted to just get their feedback on it. And I call the friend, and she doesn't answer, and I didn't leave a message, and I just kept driving, and I'm going, Laura, let it go. My God, you had this great opportunity. You're getting paid to do this. Show up, be your best self, provide this amazing training for these people. You can do it. They're going to love it. Let this petty stuff go. And so I couldn't. And the person eventually actually called me back. I was still driving, and I don't know what prompted her to say this, but she said, Laura, you've always been a powerful speaker, but I never noticed you really stepping into your own and this level of confidence until recently. And it's been these years of personal development and growth that you've been doing, and I can really see a difference. And in the car, as I'm driving, I started to cry and get choked up. And I was like, oh, I guess she hit a nerve. And I was like, thank you. I guess I needed to hear that. And, we ended our conversation, and I kept driving, and I realized in that moment, I'm having a terror barrier moment. And so what that is when you are about to do something that you've never done before, and you're afraid. And for me, I noticed what happens in my world is it manifests in just old scripts playing in my head. I get moody. I might get a headache. I might get a little tension in my neck. But I was seeing it manifesting in a way where I couldn't let go of this little petty argument. And I realized at that moment, I'm having a terror barrier moment. So what am I going to do about it? Well, I'm going to break through it. So long story short, I did the event. I worked the 3 hours. I felt relaxed. I felt comfortable. I was getting the audience engaged in a lot of different things. And when I finished, there was a person there who was standing in the doorway, and she worked for an international trade magazine. And she said, wow, that was really good. Are you an international speaker? And I went, yes, I am. Because in that moment, when you crash through the terror barrier and you crash through that fear and you do the thing that you were afraid to do, you instantly become someone else. I wanted to be an international speaker. I wanted to train people in these mindset techniques and help them lead more fulfilled lives and be more effective in less time and inspire other people on their teams. And I was doing that on a one-to-one basis and in small groups, but never at this scale. And in that moment, I became that person. So let me tell you what's happening in your mind so that you can learn to recognize the terror barrier in yourself and so that you can overcome it. Because more often than not, our fears are tissue paper thin. When I crashed through it, I was like, what was all the fuss about? My goodness. Right? It's silly. And we hold ourselves back. We let those fears stop us in our tracks. So what's happening in your mind is, let's imagine that your head is split in half. You have a top half and a bottom half. The top half is your conscious mind. The bottom half is your subconscious mind. And so you can think thoughts. You can originate ideas in your conscious mind, or thoughts come to you through what you see, taste, touch, smell, and hear. So you have these thoughts in your conscious mind. And then you have your paradigm, which is your beliefs and your habits and your subconscious thoughts, your self-image. Those all reside in your subconscious mind, okay? So you have a thought, I want to be an international speaker. And we'll just call it X. You have an X thought. I want to be... Actually, no. You have your normal every way of doing things. I'm a coach. I just coach people one-on-one. That's X conditioning, X thinking, right? You're having these X thoughts repeatedly. This is what I do each and every day. I coach people one-on-one. I teach one-on-one classes. I do little group online things. And that's it. That's your conditioning. That's what you're used to doing, and that's how you think, right? So then you have your X conditioning in your paradigm. So you're doing the things habitually that align with that thought, right? And then you're getting X results. Now, you might not like the results that you're getting. You might not be satisfied with the results that you're getting, and you're wishing maybe you had more, but you're still thinking in your conscious mind X thoughts. In your subconscious mind, your X conditioning in your subconscious mind is governing your behavior, and you're getting X results. So now let's take it a step further. All right, I'm doing one-on-one coaching. Now I'd like to be an international speaker. So you're a coach, you're thinking X thoughts, but now I have this Y idea, something different, something other than what I've been doing. I want to be an international speaker. So it's still an idea. I'm playing with it. I'm not going to act on it. So I'm thinking this Y idea. Wow, wouldn't it be cool if, right? But I'm still thinking X thoughts, and I'm still operating at an X level in my subconscious mind, and I'm still getting X results. I'm still not happy. I'm still in bondage, right? I'm still kind of stuck. But then I start to think about that Y idea. You know what? I quite like the idea of being an international speaker. I could travel around the world. What would that be like? What would that feel like? What kind of people would I talk to? What kind of impact would I have? What would I be paid? What would my bank account look like? How would I travel? And you start getting emotionally involved in that idea. When you start getting emotionally involved in any idea, that Y idea, it becomes embedded in your subconscious mind. So now you have that Y idea, you're thinking about it, you're getting emotionally involved in it, it becomes embedded in your subconscious mind. However, you're still getting X results. Your new idea and your old conditioned way of being are at odds with one another. And so your old way of being, your old habits, your old paradigms are putting up a royal battle. So you're at odds. Your mind is in conflict, right? You've got this new vision of what you want. You're emotionally involved in it, but you have this old conditioning in your subconscious mind that you haven't shifted yet. So that's what we call the terror barrier. You have a choice right then and there. You can either push through that terror barrier and say, you know what? These fears are tissue paper thin. I know that I have the capacity to figure it out. I'm going to be an international speaker. I am an international speaker, for example. And you crash through it, and that's where freedom is. That's when you get to become somebody else. But most people don't do that. Most people, even when I talk to people and they've never worked with a coach before and they desperately want it and they desperately want change. So they're not used to it. They're used to doing it themselves. I'm going to use my grit and tenacity and muscle through. I'm going to do it all by myself and then I'll be proud of myself. But there's no reason to do that. You're much stronger when you have somebody helping you out, guiding you, who's already doing the things that you want to be doing, and they're helping you and shining a light on some of those blind spots so that you can overcome them. But somebody like that is not accustomed to doing that. A lot of people I work with, and including myself, we're accustomed to hiring coaches. I'll get a coach. Or, I don't know how to do this. My head isn't screwed on straight. I need another perspective. This person's really good at that. I want to work with them. We're conditioned to do that, but a lot of people are not. So when they do decide and they break through that terror barrier and they're really close, sometimes they'll say, do I really want it? Maybe I'll try it again. But oh my gosh, you've been doing it your way for 10 years. What's going to be different? But their old conditioning has a grip on them. They're stuck in the terror barrier. And sometimes they'll go back into safety. But they don't want to be there. They're not happy there. They're not creating the life that they want. Safety doesn't mean happiness. Safety doesn't mean fulfillment. Safety doesn't mean you're creating an impact in your own life, in your family's life, and in the lives of others or in the world. Safety is just safety, and you can be stuck in safety and stuck in bondage. and never reach that freedom you seek. So you've got to be willing to understand what's happening in your mind and then break through it anyway and know and have trust and faith that you'll figure it out, and the people and the resources you need to manifest that dream and that success are there. They're right there on the other side of the terror barrier. It's interesting. And once I understood that, everything changed for me. Everything. So we have two paths that we can travel: the path of ignorance or the path of knowledge. The path of ignorance is, when we're stuck in worry and doubt, right? And what happens, we have worries and doubts that enter into our conscious mind, right? And then we get emotionally involved in those worries and doubts. And then that fear becomes embedded in our subconscious mind. It becomes a part of our paradigm. And then our subconscious mind is what moves our body into action. So then we have anxiety. You ever notice people who, we can make ourselves sick with worry? When we get really worried and we're ridden with an anxiety, it can manifest in our body. That's what happens. And in our culture, we're taught to suppress anxiety. And what happens is that suppression of our anxiety and our fear causes dis-ease in our body, and we disintegrate from the inside out. That's the path of ignorance. Or we can choose the path of knowledge, and that comes from study and understanding. That when you understand how your mind works, that there's more power in your body and in your energy than you could ever possibly imagine using. When you realize that, when there's so much opportunity around you and so many people who want to help you and so many things that will help you manifest, so many ideas that can help you manifest your dreams and goals. When you really understand that, and that you're not only attracting those things are, and those people are also attracting you. When you open yourselves up and you understand how the mind works and how universal laws work, that creates faith in something bigger than yourself, faith instead of fear. And that faith gives you an opportunity to express yourself. And when you're expressing yourself at the highest potential, you are creative and you create well-being instead of dis-ease. You're standing in the highest potential of yourself. You're growing into that person. So again, it's a choice. Anytime you're faced with the terror barrier, think about this. You're faced with either following the path of ignorance or following the path of knowledge. And the very fact that you're here today listening is telling me, and I hope it tells you, that you are on the path of knowledge. You've got to practice this day in and day out. I hope that makes sense. If you are listening to us for the first time today, I want to welcome you to Rat Race Reboot. I want to hear from you. Please go to our website, ratracereboot.com. We have some wonderful things that you can download so you can start your journey and catch up to us. I want to hear your thoughts. I do read your comments. If you're getting something out of this and you have questions, let me know so I can respond to you. Go to ratracereboot.com, and I'd love to hear from you. So what are your thoughts? This is when you're following the path of knowledge, you're allowing your intuition to guide you. You're allowing that to happen. And we're going to talk next week more deeply about intuition. It's one of your God-given mental faculties. And when you learn how to tap into that, you'll let that be your shining light. You'll let that be your inner GPS, so to speak, instead of those fears, worries, and doubts, or other people who are stuck in their own paradigms, fears, worries, and doubts. So I want to end today with what we always do. We get connected with our vision, our beautiful vision for our life. I want you to think about something that you want to be, do, or have. Maybe it's something that, if you could overcome this fear, everything would shift for you. I want you to bring that to your mind's eye and get comfortable and sit with your feet firmly planted on the ground and just begin to notice your breath. Without judging, just slowly start to deepen each inhale and exhale. Take a deep breath in through your nose, and then exhale slowly and completely through your mouth. with a sigh. Releasing any tension you might be holding on to. You've got nowhere to go, nothing to do but be here now with your thoughts. Take another inhale and exhale. Bring that vision to your mind of something that you'd like to be, do, or have. Maybe something that scares you a little bit. We've been taught to think about, what's the worst that could happen? But I want you to bring to your mind's eye something different. What's the best that could happen? Sit with that for a minute. You just made a decision that would change everything for you, the people in your life, your community, your level of joy. There should be something that's exciting and scary at the same time. That's where the growth happens. Hold that vision and see, how are you serving? What does it feel like being you in this moment? Who's with you? And how are they responding to you? See yourself joyful, free, having the impact you want, truly want, and doing it with ease and flow. You get to decide. Do you want to believe everything you've been told? Or are you ready to adopt this new way of thinking that will change everything for you? Write down any ideas or inspiration that comes to mind. And then I want you to take action on those ideas today. Thank you for joining us today. Next week, we're going to talk about one of your mental faculties. It's called your intuition. And how do you tap into it? You know, it's often that little voice that we ignore, but it's essential for you to adopt this way of thinking and implement it in a way that's going to help you manifest and attract all of the things that you desire in your life, in your business, in your relationships. So thank you for joining us. Go to www.ratracereboot.com, and I'd love to hear from you. Give us a 5-star review. Give us your comments. I read them. Ask your questions there, too. You can also email me, and our contact information will be in the show notes as well. Thank you again, and remember, everything is created twice, always. First in your mind, and then in physical form. I'll see you next week.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.